uh, it's a little bit disappointing because for a region that likes to think of itself as a leader in the fight against corruption, a global leader in the fight against corruption, it seems to have fought itself to a standstill. We're seeing stagnation there. And in fact, more than stagnation, we're seeing some very worrying trends or declines with some European member states. Hungary, for example, has fallen 9 points in our report to a score of 46. That shows serious problems with corruption in a period of 8 or 9 years. Malta, an even sharper decline, falling 5 points in 3 years. And I think for member states, which have gone through, of course, an incredibly rigorous process in looking at judicial reforms and anti-corruption reforms 10, 15 years ago, seeing these kind of declines is a very worrying trend.
And Carl, you mentioned your worry levels are quite high. Do they tend to increase? Because you do publish this report on an annual basis. I mean, things, as you say, are not getting better, but rather worse.
Well, they're getting worse in some countries. As I said, overall in Europe, the trend is one of stagnation. The average has been the same for at least the last 6 or 7 years. But this is what we would hope to see in Europe is some kind of convergence on European values and democratic norms. I mean, that is what essentially the whole European Union project is. It is a union of values, and instead we seem to be going backwards in some countries. We see, for example, a clampdown on civil society in Hungary. We see a clampdown on independent judiciary in Poland and Hungary. The most worrying development there being that Hungary is setting up a series of courts which will try corruption cases, but which will be, those judges in those courts will be accountable only to the Minister for Justice, a political appointee. So these are the kind of things that do give us pause for concern.
Yeah, Carl, you mentioned Poland, Hungary, Malta, and I've seen Romania is also highlighted as a concern in that report. Romania, who is now residing over the European Union, chairing the European Union for these 6 months, if you like. What guidelines do you have for these countries? And do you think that they actually take into account this document and that their officials read it?
Oh, I think they do, absolutely. I think this is a matter of their international reputation. I think that all countries are concerned about that. But even more than international reputation, it's about the trust that their citizens have in the institutions of government. And that trust has also been declining and evaporating over the years. So I think the governments understand very well that their legitimacy to act very much depends on being seen at the forefront of the fight against corruption. So where countries are stalling, where they're not making progress, well, there we see that people get very, very frustrated, and that leads to the kind of street protests that we have seen in Romania and Bulgaria and other countries last year.